Let's zoom out. You've just learned 6 of the most effective research-backed strategies to burn belly fat, not through crash diets or punishing workouts, but by understanding how your body actually works. You now know that fat loss isn't just about calories in and out. It's about hormones, metabolism, stress, sleep, light, and movement. It's about working with your biology, not against it. So let's recap what we covered. We started with metabolic flexibility, learning how to tighten your eating window and give your body a chance to switch into fat-burning mode. Not through starvation, but through rhythm. Then we tackled cortisol, the stress hormone that, when elevated too long, tells your body to store fat in your abdomen. You learned simple protocols like morning light, breath work, and walking to retrain your nervous system and flatten the cortisol curve. Next, we focused on muscle, the engine of your metabolism. More muscle means more fat burned even while resting. And the best part? You don't need hours in the gym, just a few focused sessions each week using full-body movements. From there, we explored glucose control, how stabilizing your blood sugar can accelerate fat loss and reduce insulin spikes. You learn to sequence your meals, walk after eating, and even use tools like vinegar to keep insulin in check. Then came cold exposure, an unconventional but powerful method for activating brown fat, which burns energy instead of storing it. You don't need ice baths, just a little daily discomfort through cool showers or morning walks without a heavy coat. And finally, sleep, the silent fat burner. Quality sleep optimizes your hunger hormones, increases fat-burning growth hormone, and protects your insulin sensitivity. When sleep is dialed in, everything else works better. So here's the challenge. Pick one of these tools, just one. Apply it for the next 3 days. Maybe you start by compressing your eating window, or getting outside within 30 minutes of waking, or walking for 10 minutes after dinner. Whatever you choose, don't aim for perfection. Aim for momentum. Because here's the truth. Real fat loss, especially the kind that transforms your energy, your focus, and your longevity, doesn't come from one massive effort. It comes from small, consistent changes layered over time. It comes from knowing how your body works, then designing your life to support it. And remember, the goal isn't just less belly fat. It's more life, more strength, clarity, calm, confidence. You're not chasing a number on a scale. You're building a body and mind that can carry you forward with power and purpose. If this talk helped you see fat loss through a new lens, a more scientific, more human, and more sustainable one, I invite you to subscribe. This channel is for people who want real tools, real science, and real change. And if you have a question or insight, leave a comment. We read everyone. And this is a community that grows together. Now go apply what you've learned. Choose your one tool. Take the next small step and let your biology work for you, not against you. You've got this. If there's one habit that quietly sabotages fat loss more than most people realize, it's poor sleep. You can fast, you can train, you can walk after meals and optimize your blood sugar. But if your sleep is short, inconsistent, or fragmented, your body will fight back. Sleep isn't passive. It's a hormonal recalibration system. When you don't get enough of it, or the timing is off, key fat-regulating hormones go haywire. Here's what the research shows. One night of sleep deprivation significantly increases ghrelin, the hormone that drives hunger, and lowers leptin, which signals satiety. That means you're hungrier the next day and less satisfied by food. A 2010 study published in Annals of Internal Medicine found that people who slept less than 5.5 hours per night lost 55% less fat during a caloric deficit than those who got a full 8 hours. Same diet, same exercise, drastically different outcomes, just based on sleep. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is simple but profound. The hypothalamus and brainstem, areas that regulate metabolism and hunger, start misfiring under sleep debt. Your body interprets the lack of rest as a stressor and compensates by increasing cortisol, reducing insulin sensitivity, and promoting abdominal fat storage as a survival mechanism. But there's more. Deep sleep, especially slow-wave sleep, is when your body produces the majority of its growth hormone. This hormone supports tissue repair, fat breakdown, and lean muscle maintenance. miss out on that sleep phase, and you miss out on the regenerative benefits that directly help burn belly fat. So how do you fix it? The first step is consistency. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even weekends. This strengthens your circadian rhythm and improves sleep quality even if total sleep time stays the same. Second, front-load your light exposure. Get bright, natural light into your eyes within 60 minutes of waking. This not only boosts morning alertness, but it also helps set the timer for melatonin release 14 to 16 hours later, your body's natural signal for sleep. Third, cut out bright artificial light at night. Blue light from phones, TVs, and LEDs suppresses melatonin and pushes your sleep window later. Try using warm light, reducing screen time after 9 p.m., or wearing blue light blocking glasses if you need to stay up. And here's a simple tool. Track your last caffeine intake. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours. So if you have coffee at 4 p.m., half of that caffeine is still in your bloodstream by 9 or 10 p.m. For better fat-burning sleep, most people should cut off caffeine by 1 or 2 p.m. Ask yourself, how do you feel when you wake up? Refreshed and focused, or heavy and groggy? Your sleep quality is probably more tied to your metabolism than you think. When your sleep is dialed in, everything else starts working better. You have more energy to move. Your appetite regulates itself. Your insulin response improves, and most importantly, your body becomes less prone to storing fat and more capable of burning it, especially in the belly. If I told you that shivering, just a little, could help you burn belly fat faster, you might raise an eyebrow. But stay with me. Your body has two types of fat, white fat and brown fat. White fat is the kind that stores energy, especially around the abdomen. Brown fat does the opposite. It burns energy. It produces heat through a process called non-shivering thermogenesis, and when activated, it pulls energy from your bloodstream, including from glucose and free fatty acids, to generate warmth. And here's the surprising part. Adults do have brown fat. It's most active in the neck, shoulders, and upper back, and it turns on in response to one thing: cold. Research from the New England Journal of Medicine showed that people exposed to mild cold for just 2 hours a day increased their brown fat activity and improved insulin sensitivity. Another study out of Japan found that repeated cold exposure over 6 weeks significantly reduced body fat without changing diet or exercise. So what's happening here? When your skin senses cold, your brain signals brown fat cells to fire up. This boosts metabolic rate, increases fat oxidation, and over time encourages the body to shift away from storing visceral fat. It sips like flipping a metabolic switch. You stir, telling your body, burn, don't sip, store. Now, this doesn't mean you need ice baths every morning or to suffer through freezing showers. The protocol can be simple. Start with mild cold exposure, something like a cool shower for 30 to 60 seconds. At the end of your regular warm shower, you don't need to go full polar plunge, just enough to feel alert and slightly uncomfortable. Over time, you can increase duration as your tolerance builds. Another option? Ambient cold. Drop the thermostat a few degrees during the day. Research shows that spending time in environments around 62 to 66 degrees Fahrenheit, about 17 to 19 Celsius, can increase brown fat activity without conscious effort. You can also take a brisk walk outside in the morning without a heavy jacket. Even 5 to 10 minutes can create a response. One more advanced protocol involves cyclical exposure, alternating hot and cold, like a sauna followed by a cold plunge. This contrast activates circulation, improves vascular tone, and further boosts fat metabolism. But again, cold alone, even in small doses, is enough to create real physiological shifts. Here's a question to consider. Are you constantly in temperature-controlled comfort? If so, you might be training your body to stay metabolically lazy. A little discomfort, just enough to signal adaptation, can go a long way. And remember, this isn't a primary fat loss tool on its own. Think of cold exposure as a metabolic amplifier. It makes other systems like insulin sensitivity, muscle recovery, and fat oxidation work better. It adds momentum to everything else you're doing. In the final section, we're going to cover the hidden engine behind all of this, the thing that determines your hormone balance, recovery, appetite, and fat-burning potential: sleep. Here's something most people miss. Belly fat isn't just a calorie problem. It's a blood sugar problem. Every time you eat, especially carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises. That's normal. But when the spike is too high or happens too often, your body releases more insulin to bring sugar levels down. And insulin's job is to store energy. It tells your body, let's hold on to this fuel just in case. And where does that energy get stored first? Often right around your belly. This is why managing your blood sugar, even if you're not diabetic, is one of the fastest ways to reduce belly fat. A 2021 study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that even in healthy adults, frequent blood sugar spikes were linked to increased visceral fat and reduced fat oxidation over time. In other words, the more unstable your glucose, the harder it becomes to burn fat. But here's the good news. You can flatten those glucose spikes with a few small, powerful changes. You don't have to cut out entire food groups or live on chicken and broccoli. Here's a simple tool. Meal sequencing. Eat your meals in a specific order. Vegetables first, protein and fat second, carbs last. Why? Fiber and fat slow down the absorption of sugar from your meal. That flattens the glucose curve and reduces the insulin surge. You can still eat carbs, you're just giving your body a better way to handle them. Another trick, take a short walk after eating. Even 10 minutes helps your muscles absorb glucose, lowering your blood sugar by up to 30%. A 2022 meta-analysis published in Sports Medicine found that short post-meal walks significantly improved blood sugar regulation in both healthy and insulin-resistant individuals. And here's something even simpler. Add vinegar. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in water before a carb-heavy meal has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity and reduce glucose spikes. Just make sure to dilute it. And check with your doctor if you're on medication. Want to go deeper? Pay attention to liquid sugar. Soda, juice, sweetened coffee. These hit your bloodstream fast and hard. The faster your blood sugar rises, the more insulin gets released. And repeated high insulin levels blunt your fat-burning mechanisms. So if you're thinking long-term, aim for foods that are nutrient-dense, high in fiber and protein-rich, but also strategically timed and combined. It's not just what you eat. It's when, how, and in what order. Here's a question to reflect on after your meals. Do you feel sluggish and foggy or stable and focused? That feeling is your blood sugar talking. The goal isn't to obsess over every gram of sugar. The goal is to create a stable internal environment where your body doesn't constantly feel like it needs to store energy, but instead learns to release it. And before we move on, if this breakdown is helping you see the science behind fat loss in a whole new way, hit that subscribe button. There's more coming on how to train your brain and body for long-term health, not short-term hype. In the next section, we'll explore something most people never think of when it comes to fat loss, temperature exposure, and how you can use it to activate a special type of fat that burns energy instead of storing it. Most people think about losing fat and building muscle as two separate goals. But the truth is, if you want to burn belly fat and keep it off, gaining lean muscle might be the most powerful tool you have. Let's start with the basics. Muscle tissue is metabolically active. It demands more energy to maintain than fat does. So even when you're sitting still, working, resting, sleeping, more muscle means your body is burning more calories around the clock. That's called increasing your resting metabolic rate, and it plays a major role in long-term fat loss. But it gets better. Muscle doesn't just passively burn calories. It also improves your metabolic health in more direct ways. When you build muscle, you improve glucose uptake, the ability of your cells to pull sugar out of the bloodstream and use it for energy. This helps flatten blood sugar spikes, lower insulin, and signal to your body that it's okay to release stored fat, especially from the abdominal area. One 2017 study in obesity followed adults over the age of 40 and found that resistance training not only prevented age-related fat gain, but also reduced visceral fat even when body weight stayed roughly the same. In other words, they recomposed their body less fat, more muscle, without needing to lose weight on the scale. And here's the thing. You don't need to become a bodybuilder. In fact, the sweet spot for fat loss is short, high-quality strength training sessions 2 to 4 times per week. That could be body weight circuits, resistance bands, or dumbbells, anything that loads the muscles progressively. Focus on big compound movements that engage multiple muscle groups, squats, rows, push-ups, deadlifts, overhead presses. Here, SIP's a simple framework. 2 to 3 full-body strength sessions per week, each lasting 30 to 40 minutes. Focus on slow, controlled movements. Rest about 60 seconds between sets. And if you're just starting, even 10 minutes a day is enough to stimulate change. Now, one overlooked factor is when you train, if you lift in the late afternoon or early evening around 4 to 6 p.m., you'll likely have better performance, lower injury risk, and a bigger growth hormone response post-workout. That matters because growth hormone helps mobilize fat and build lean mass, especially during sleep. And speaking of sleep, muscle recovery and fat metabolism both rely on it. So if you're training hard but sleeping poorly, progress stalls. We'll get deeper into that in part 6. But for now, just remember this: the more muscle you build, the easier it becomes to lose fat, especially the kind that sits deep in your belly. You're not just shaping your body, you're reshaping your metabolism. This isn't about looking a certain way. It's about giving your body the tools it needs to age well, stay strong, and burn fat more naturally. And that begins by treating muscle like the health investment it is. Let's talk about one of the most underrated drivers of belly fat: stress. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, isn't inherently bad. In fact, you need it. It wakes you up in the morning, sharpens your focus, and helps regulate blood sugar. But here's where it becomes a problem. When cortisol stays elevated for too long, especially in the evening, it signals your body to store fat in the abdominal area. That's not a guess. That's what the research shows. Studies going back to the late 1990s, like the landmark work from Dr. Alyssa Eppel at UCSF, have shown a clear connection between high chronic cortisol and increased visceral fat, the deep abdominal fat that wraps around your organs and raises risk for heart disease and insulin resistance. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is pretty straightforward. Chronic stress tells your hypothalamus that you're under threat. Your body responds by stockpiling energy where it can access it quickly, in your midsection. And to make matters worse, high cortisol also makes you more insulin resistant and hungrier for high sugar, high fat foods. It's a loop. Stress raises cortisol, cortisol drives belly fat, and belly fat keeps cortisol elevated. So what do? You can't eliminate stress entirely, but you can retrain your cortisol rhythm. Here's how. First, get outside in the morning. Within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, expose your eyes to natural light. This simple protocol anchors your circadian clock and helps cortisol peak early in the day where it belongs. A 2020 review in Frontiers in Neuroscience found that morning light exposure not only regulates cortisol, but also improves sleep and mood, both of which play directly into fat loss. Second, control your breathing. A simple breathing tool, backed by Stanford neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman, is called physiological sighing. It's 2 quick inhales through the nose, followed by a long, slow exhale through the mouth. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's calm down mode, and brings cortisol down within minutes. Third, move. Not with an intense workout, but with a walk. A 10-minute walk after a stressful moment, or even after a meal, lowers blood glucose and eases the sympathetic stress response. Think of it as a release valve, especially powerful in the evening. And here's a quick question for you. When do you feel most stressed during the day? Late afternoon? Right before bed? That's where you want to insert these tools. You're not aiming to erase stress. You're teaching your body how to process it more efficiently. Before we move on, if this kind of science-backed, grounded information is helping you connect the dots on your health, consider subscribing. This channel is all about practical tools, not hype. And we go deep into what actually works, not just what's trending. In the next section, we'll shift gears into muscle and why building more of it is one of the smartest fat-burning decisions you can make, especially as you age. If you eat from the moment you wake up until right before bed, like most people do, your body rarely gets a chance to switch into fat-burning mode. It's constantly busy digesting, managing blood sugar, and storing energy. The result? Your metabolism becomes inflexible. It stops knowing how to efficiently switch between burning carbs and burning fat. And that inflexibility is one of the hidden reasons belly fat tends to accumulate, especially with age. Here's what the research shows. A 2019 study published in Cell Metabolism found that when adults with metabolic syndrome ate all their meals within a 10-hour window without changing what they ate, they saw reduced abdominal fat, improved insulin sensitivity, and better sleep within just 12 weeks. No extreme dieting, just aligning food intake with their circadian rhythm. Why does this work? Your metabolism, like your brain, runs on a clock. There are certain times of day when your body is better at processing glucose, burning fat, and repairing tissues. When you eat late at night or constantly snack throughout the day, you confuse that system. You extend your insulin response and keep your body in energy storage mode far too long. But when you restrict your eating window, even to something as gentle as 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., you allow your insulin to drop, your fat-burning enzymes to activate, and your cells to start cleaning house. That state is called metabolic switching, and it's one of the fastest ways to unlock fat loss, especially around the belly. Now, this doesn't mean skipping meals randomly or starving yourself. It's about creating a rhythm, a simple tool to apply. Is this: pick a consistent 10 to 12 hour window for all your eating, ideally starting within 1 or 2 hours of waking. If you finish dinner by 6 or 7 p.m. and wait until 8 or 9 a.m. to eat the next day, you're already shifting toward fat-burning territory overnight. Want to go a step further? Push your first meal slightly later a few times a week. This light form of intermittent fasting helps your body become more metabolically flexible, teaching it to rely on stored fat rather than constant glucose. Just make sure you hydrate during that fasted window. A glass of water with sea salt or a black coffee can support energy without breaking the fast. But here's what's crucial: consistency beats intensity. You don't need to do 16-hour fasts every day. In fact, too much fasting, especially combined with high stress or poor sleep, can backfire by raising cortisol, which we'll unpack in the next section. For now, ask yourself, what's my eating window right now? Is it stretched across 15 or 16 hours? Could I compress it slightly without feeling restricted? The goal isn't perfection, it's rhythm. The more consistent your eating schedule is, and the more it aligns with your body's natural rhythm, the more your metabolism shifts from storage mode to fat-burning mode. Let's start with something most people don't realize. The fat around your belly isn't just sitting there doing nothing. It's metabolically active. It talks to your hormones. It influences your energy, your cravings, and even your mood. And here's the kicker: the fat stored in your abdomen is fundamentally different from the fat in your hips or thighs. It's more hormonally disruptive. It raises your risk of heart disease, insulin resistance, even brain fog. So when we talk about belly fat, we're not just talking about aesthetics. We're talking about energy, focus, aging, and long-term vitality. But here's the good news. Your body is not stuck. There are specific, science-backed levers you can pull in your habits, timing, mindset, and biology to start shifting that fat off your midsection, and do it fast. Not through gimmicks or starvation, but by aligning with how your metabolism actually works. Let's anchor this in some neuroscience. There's a part of your brain called the hypothalamus. Think of it like your metabolic command center. It tracks energy intake, fat storage, circadian rhythms, and even stress levels. And it decides whether to burn fat or store it. That means burning belly fat is as much about what you eat and when you move as it is about how well you're sleeping, managing stress, and even exposing yourself to light in the morning. That's what makes this topic so fascinating and so empowering. Once you understand the hidden drivers of belly fat, you can flip the script. You can build a daily rhythm that trains your body to be in a fat-burning state more often, without crash dieting and without burning out. In this talk, I'll walk you through 6 research-backed principles that can help you burn belly fat faster and smarter. Some of these are physiological levers like blood glucose control and muscle metabolism. Others are behavioral tools like how to time your meals or train your nervous system to reduce cortisol, one of the key hormones that drives belly fat storage. So if you're over 40 feeling like it's getting harder to lose weight, or if you're simply looking to optimize your health from the inside out, this is for you. You'll walk away with science-based strategies, a few simple protocols you can implement immediately, and a deeper understanding of what your body's actually trying to do. Let's get into it.